My name is Rachel Moore. I am 29. I was standing behind the heavy wooden doors of the church, my arm looped through my dad's, my bouquet pressed so hard against my stomach, my fingers hurt. Everyone thought I was shaking because I was nervous about getting married. The photographer had just said, "Deep breath, Rachel. You're about to have the happiest day of your life," before he slipped away. But the truth was, I wasn't nervous about becoming someone's wife. I was waiting for the right moment to expose someone. On the other side of those doors, my fiancé Aaron was standing at the altar in the navy suit I'd helped choose, in front of almost 200 people. Our families, our friends, co-workers, neighbors. My cousin Jenna, my maid of honor, the girl I grew up with like a sister, was holding her bouquet, standing in lavender with the bridesmaids. Less than 12 hours earlier, I had walked into a hotel room and found her in a white robe and him half-dressed, 2 glasses on the nightstand, his fake name on the room booking, my future disappearing in about 3 seconds. So yeah, my hands were shaking. But not from wedding nerves, from anger, from betrayal, from the cold, steady knowledge that I was about to walk down the aisle, not to say I do, but to tell everyone exactly who he really was. To understand how I ended up there, you have to know a bit about me and how much I built before he ever showed up. I grew up about 40 minutes outside Chicago, in one of those quiet suburbs where everybody knows everybody's business, but pretends they don't. My dad was an electrician. My mom worked at a dentist's office. We weren't fancy, but the bills were paid. If something broke, we fixed it. If we wanted something, we saved. That was just how it was. I was the good one. Straight A's, part-time jobs, curfews obeyed. My younger sister Lily was the wild one, changing hair colors, sneaking out, coming home smelling like bonfires and vodka. My cousin Jenna lived a few streets over. Our mums are sisters, and Jenna spent so much time at our house she basically had her own toothbrush in our bathroom. We shared clothes, secrets, dreams. We used to plan our future weddings down to what kind of flowers we'd carry and what drunk uncle would embarrass himself first. I went to a state university, did accounting because I liked things that added up. I worked my way through school with campus jobs and summer shifts at a supermarket. When I graduated, I got hired by a mid-sized firm in the city. Not glamorous, but stable. I was proud of that. I paid off one of my student loans early. I built up a little savings. I liked knowing I could take care of myself. For a long time, I didn't really date. I had a couple of boyfriends, nothing serious. I was cautious, I guess. I'd grown up watching my mom constantly suspicious of my dad, going through phases where she'd check his phone, question every late night. I promised myself I'd never be that woman, paranoid, desperate, clinging. I told myself if I couldn't trust someone, I just wouldn't be with them. Then I met Aaron. It was one of those nights I almost stayed home. My coworker Megan was having a birthday thing at some trendy bar in the city. I was tired, it was snowing, and all I wanted was a blanket and Netflix. But Megan texted, "If you bail on me, I'm changing the spreadsheet without telling you." And I loved my spreadsheets more than I loved staying home, so I dragged myself out. He was at the bar, laughing with a group of guys, telling some big story with his hands. Tall, dark hair, that kind of easy smile that made you feel like you already knew him. He saw me before I saw him, I think, because as soon as I joined our group, he drifted over. "You look like you're here under protest," he said, leaning on the bar next to me. "I promised I'd stay till at least 10, I said. "After that, I turn into a pumpkin with an early meeting," he laughed. "What do you do that requires this much sleep?" "I'm an accountant," I said. "I count other people's money and tell them not to buy more stupid things." He actually seemed interested. "That's brutal," he grinned. "I'm in sales. I convince people to buy all the stupid things." "Natural enemies, then," I said. "Or a perfect match," he shot back. "I'm Aaron. Rachel." He bought me a drink even after I said I was leaving early. We talked for most of the night. He was funny, quick, full of stories. I was used to guys tuning out when I talked about my job. He asked questions. He told me he loved the chase in sales. I laughed then. Later, that word would come back to haunt me. He got my number before I left. Texted the next morning. "Accountant Pumpkin made it to work?" We went for coffee, then drinks, then dinner. In a few months, we were spending most nights at my place, or his. He'd show up at my office with coffee. He'd grab my phone and take stupid photos I'd find weeks later. My friends liked him. My parents liked him. He seemed like a catch. Good job, charming, talkative, social, affectionate. There were little things, even early on. His phone was always face down. If it rang, he'd glance at the screen, say, "Just work," and stand up to, "Take this really quick." I'd hear his voice in the hallway, lower, different. When I asked, he'd shrug. "Boring stuff, babe. I'm sparing you." Once, about 6 months in, I was curled on his couch while he showered. His phone buzzed on the coffee table. The screen lit up. Sam. Had a great time last night. I stared at it. My stomach twisted. I told myself Sam could be a guy, or a client, or a joke. I didn't pick the phone up. But when he came out, I said, "Who's Sam?" For half a second, he froze. Then he smiled. "Guy from work. We took some clients out. Don't be jealous, babe. My type is nerdy accountants." "Ha ha," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "You sure?" He came over, picked up the phone, opened the message, and handed it to me along with a new boring text above it about quarterly reports. Anything above that was gone, deleted. I noticed that, but I told myself I was being like my mum, always suspicious, always assuming the worst. I pushed it down. We had been together just over a year when he proposed. Fancy restaurant, city view, a ring and a dessert. He got down on one knee, gave a sweet speech about how I'd brought stability and warmth into his life, how he wanted to build a future with me. For a second, I saw every red flag. Then I saw my parents' faces when I told them. The house I wanted one day. Kids, holidays. Not alone. I said yes. Everyone was thrilled. My mom cried. My dad shook his hand. Jenna screamed in my ear over FaceTime. She came over that weekend with champagne and bridal magazines, threw herself onto my bed and said, "Maid of honor duties, here I come." It felt right that she'd be beside me. We opened a joint savings account for the wedding and the house. I had about 15 grand saved already. Aaron had some, but not much. He was always waiting on a bonus. I transferred most of mine in. He set up a direct deposit for part of his paycheck. Then we started planning, and with planning came money. The barn venue outside the city was the first big decision. It was gorgeous, and way over what I'd decided was reasonable. I sat at the kitchen table with my notebook, spreadsheets, and a calculator, reminding Aaron that we didn't need to impress everyone. "Babe," he said, leaning over my shoulder and kissing my neck, "your spreadsheets are sexy, but this is our wedding. We'll only do it once. My bonus will cover the difference. We can put the deposit on your card, and I'll pay you back. You have better rates anyway, right?" He said it like a compliment, like I was this magical financial unicorn. I hesitated. I heard my dad's voice talking about not living beyond your means. I heard my mum's talking about how she'd always dreamed of seeing me walk into a beautiful place. I wanted simple and pretty, not extravagant, but in the end, I caved. "Fine," I said. "But we track every cent." I put the deposit on my card. He promised, hand over heart, to pay me back once his bonus hit. "We're a team," he said. "Stop worrying." I wanted to believe that we meant both of us, that I wasn't just the bank. A few months later, on my lunch break, I logged into our joint account. I nearly dropped my phone. The balance was $6,000 lower than it should have been. I double-checked my notebook, the deposits, the initial balance. No mistake. I pulled up the transaction history. There it was. A transfer out to an account with Aaron's name on it. $6,000. Personal. I called him, my heart pounding. "Hey, babe," he answered. "What's up?" "Did you take $6,000 out of our savings?" I asked. My voice came out too calm. He was quiet for a second. "I was going to tell you," he said. "When?" I snapped. "After the wedding? When the bank came for me?" He launched into a story about a friend in trouble. Car about to be repossessed, job at risk. He'd helped him out. "I didn't think you'd understand," he said, "because you're so strict with money. I was going to put it back before you even noticed. Don't you trust me?" "You didn't trust me enough to even ask," I said. He apologized 1,000 times, brought flowers, promised never to touch the account without talking to me. That night, I made him transfer the full amount back from his personal account. I also quietly opened a separate savings account just in my name and started moving small chunks of money over, telling him they were extra student loan payments. That was the first time I consciously protected myself from him. At the time, it felt dramatic. In hindsight, I was just late. The second big hit came from my best friend, Jade. We were on my couch one night, invitations spread out everywhere, trying to decide on fonts. Jenna was supposed to be there but had texted, "Can't, hanging with a friend, love you X." Jade rolled her eyes at that, but didn't say more until we were halfway through a bottle of cheap Prosecco. "Can I ask you something without you freaking out?" she said, licking an envelope. "That is literally the worst way to start a sentence," I said, but smiled. "Go on." "It's about Aaron," she said. "And Jenna." My stomach tightened. "What about them?" "I'm not saying anything has happened," she said carefully, "but I've noticed they're close, like very close. And last weekend at your parents' barbecue, I walked into the kitchen and they were in there alone. They were standing too close. They shut up fast, and Jenna went bright red. It could be nothing. It could be something." I wanted to brush it off. "They're friends. She's loud and flirty with everyone. You know her." "I know her, yeah," Jade said. "I also know guys like Aaron. Charming, love attention, used to the chase. Just don't gaslight yourself if you see something." That phrase, "don't gaslight yourself," stuck, because I had been, ignoring the weird glances, the way Aaron seemed to light up when Jenna arrived. The late-night DMs I accidentally saw once when Jenna sent him a meme, by mistake, that never appeared in the group chat. I didn't confront them. I filed it away. But the next flag nearly knocked me over. It was an email. Subject line, "Loan approval, congratulations, Rachel." I was half awake on a Saturday morning, scrolling through my phone in bed. I almost deleted it as spam. Then I saw my full name and froze. "Dear Rachel Moore, your personal loan of $10,000 has been approved and deposited." I sat up. I hadn't applied for any loan. I logged into my bank app, hands suddenly cold. There it was. 10,000 deposited 2 weeks ago, 10,000 transferred out 5 minutes later to an account number I didn't recognize. I opened the attached PDF in the email. It was a loan agreement with my name, my social, my address, and at the bottom, my signature, or a pretty good copy of it. I knew instantly I hadn't signed that. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I flung the covers back, grabbed my laptop, and opened Aaron's email account. He'd logged in on my computer once and told it to, "Just save the password, we're basically one person now." I searched his inbox for the lender's name. There it was, thread after thread. One email with the subject, loan paperwork, Rachel Moore, stood out. He'd forwarded the contract from the lender to himself at work with a note. "Got it approved. This covers the last bills. I'll pay it off before she ever knows." I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. My fiancé had used my identity to take out a loan. He'd forged my signature, taken the money, and assumed I'd never notice. I called Jade. She and her brother Louis, who's a junior lawyer, were at my apartment within an hour. Louis went through the emails, the bank records, the loan document. "This is fraud," he said bluntly. "If you didn't authorize this and that signature isn't yours, he's committed a crime. The good news is, he's an idiot about covering his tracks." I sat there in my pajamas, feeling like my entire life had shifted 2 inches to the left. "I'm supposed to marry him," I said, "in 3 months. Do you still want to?" Jade asked quietly. I didn't answer. I thought of the ring on my finger, the deposits already paid, the venue with our names on their schedule. I thought of my mum's face when I'd tried to downsize the wedding and she'd said, "Don't you dare cheap out, this is once in a lifetime." "I don't know," I whispered. Louis advised me to gather everything, copies of every contract, every email where Aaron talked about payments, everything that could prove a pattern. He helped me draft an email to the lender, saying I disputed the loan and believed my identity had been used without consent. They put the account on hold, pending investigation. I confronted Aaron about it that night. I printed the contract and dropped it on the table. "What is this?" I asked. He barely glanced at it. "Loan," he said, "for the wedding. I told you I'd cover stuff." In my name, I said. With a signature I didn't write, with my social. Did you practice my signature in your spare time, or did you just wing it? He groaned. Babe, don't make this a thing. It is for us. We're going to be married. It doesn't matter whose name is on what. It matters to the credit bureaus, I said. And to me. You lied. You stole from me. Twice now. We fought. He said I was dramatic, controlling, obsessed with money. I said he was irresponsible and dishonest. At one point he snapped, I'm doing all this to give you the wedding you want, and you're acting like I robbed a bank. You did, I said, except the bank is me. He eventually did that half apology, half justification thing. I'll pay it off, he said. You won't even have to touch it. Trust me. The words trust me sounded different now. They felt like an insult. We didn't break up that night. I wish I could say I kicked him out and never looked back. But love makes you slow. So does time invested, families involved, deposits non-refundable. I went to bed with a knot in my stomach and told myself I'd decide what to do after the wedding, after the dust settled. I never got that far, because then came the hotel. It was exactly 1 week before the wedding, a Friday night. I was supposed to stay at my parents', doing last-minute stuff with my mom and Jenna, seating charts, party favors, boring details. That afternoon, I got a pounding headache. I told them I was going to sleep at my own flat and drove home. Aaron texted that he was going out with the guys for one last low-key hang. I said fine. I made myself pasta, put on a movie, tried to convince myself I was excited. Around 9, my phone buzzed with a notification from the location-sharing app we used sometimes. I'd forgotten it was even still on. His little dot popped up on the map. I glanced at it, expected it to be at the sports bar he liked. Instead, it was downtown, at a hotel. I stared, zoomed in. It was definitely that hotel. I called him. No answer. I texted, "Everything okay?" Nothing. I sat there, my fingers going numb. Then I stood up, grabbed my keys, and drove. The lobby was warm, dim, filled with jazz music and couples in nice clothes. I walked straight to the bar, scanned around. No Aaron. I walked to the front desk. My voice didn't sound like mine when I spoke. "Hi," I said, smiling in that fakely bright way. "My fiancé checked in a little while ago under Aaron Blake, or maybe James Carter. We sometimes use Carter with his points account. Can you remind me of the room? My phone died and I can't remember." The woman glanced at her screen. "Ah, yes, James Carter. Room 1012. I don't remember crossing the lobby to the lifts. I just remember the thick carpet under my heels and the way the numbers lit up in the elevator. 8, 9, 10. I walked down the hall and stopped outside 1012. Voices, laughter, the TV on. I knocked. Silence. Then whispering. Then Aaron's voice, too loud and fake jokey. "Room service?" I knocked harder. "Aaron, it's Rachel. Open the door." There was a thump, a curse. The chain rattled, the lock clicked. The door opened about a foot. Aaron stood there shirtless, jeans half done up, hair a mess. His eyes went huge. "Rachel, what are you—" A woman's voice floated from inside. "Who is it, babe?" "Babe." I pushed the door open the rest of the way before he could stop me. The room smelled like hotel sheets and perfume. Jenna was sitting on the edge of the bed in a white robe, her hair undone, eyes going wide as she saw me. Everything went very quiet in my head, like someone had turned the volume down on the world. "Rach," she said, standing up fast, clutching the robe closed. "Wait, it's not what it looks like," I said. It came out almost calm. They both started talking at once. They were drunk. It was a mistake. They'd just come here to talk privately, and one thing led to another. They'd been feeling confused and stupid and overwhelmed. I watched their mouths move. I didn't hear much. The only sentence I remember saying clearly was, "You literally could have chosen anyone in the world, and you chose each other." I walked out. I heard Jenna sobbing behind me, Aaron calling my name, but I didn't turn around. Somehow I made it to my car, and then I broke. I screamed until my throat hurt. I hit the steering wheel. I cried so hard I could barely breathe. It wasn't just him. It was her, my cousin, my maid of honor. The girl who'd been with me for dress fittings and cake tastings while she was sneaking around with him. My phone rang. I ignored it. Rang again. I finally glanced down. It was Jade. I picked up. My voice cracked. I just caught Aaron at a hotel with Jenna. Silence. Then, "Where are you?" Her voice had that hard edge it gets when something's really wrong. I told her. "Don't drive yet," she said. "I'm coming." 15 minutes later, she was knocking on my window. She got in, pulled me into the kind of hug that holds you together when you feel like you're coming apart. "What do you want to do?" she asked when I could talk. "I don't know," I said. "The wedding is in a week. Everyone's already in motion. My mom will lose her mind if I call it off. I feel like throwing up." "Forget your mom for a second," she said. "Do you want to marry him?" The answer came faster than I expected. "No." "Okay," she said. "Then the wedding is off. The only question is, do you leave quietly, or do you make sure he doesn't get to rewrite this as your fault?" That was the moment the fog in my head started to lift. I thought of the loan, the bank account, the cheating. I thought of how easily he'd lied. I thought of what my mom had said about not embarrassing the family. I could already hear the stories if I just vanished. Rachel got cold feet. Rachel is unstable. Rachel overreacted. "I'm not protecting him," I said slowly. "Not after this." We went back to my flat. While Jade made tea, I wouldn't drink. I sat at my laptop and started pulling things together. Emails, screenshots, bank statements, the hotel invoice, which I requested emailed to me for my records. Every text from Aaron or Jenna that said, "Don't tell," or "Please don't do anything dramatic." At around 3 a.m, an idea started forming. It was petty and satisfying and terrifying all at once. I called the church's AV guy first thing when offices opened. We had planned no slideshow during the ceremony, just at the reception. I told him I wanted to surprise Aaron with a short video montage right after the vows, before we were pronounced husband and wife. "We'll cue it up as soon as you're both done speaking," he said happily. "Just bring it on a USB." Then I emailed the venue and every major vendor. I wrote, "Due to last-minute financial changes, please note that all remaining balances and charges are to be directed to Aaron Blake at his email and his number. He has agreed to personally handle anything outstanding. Thank you for your help." I CC'd him on every message, along with an older email where he'd said to one vendor, "I'll sort the final payments after my bonus. Send everything to me." Legally, it wasn't ironclad, but it was a start, a trail that said, "I did my part. He took responsibility." Then I made the slideshow. The first half was normal. Baby photos of us, awkward teenage shots, pictures from trips, Christmas at my parents', blurry selfies at festivals, all the sweet, boring stuff people expect at weddings, soft piano music in the background. Midway through, it shifted, a screenshot of our joint account, the $6,000 withdrawal highlighted. Another screenshot zoomed in on the $10,000 loan entry, a PDF page showing the forged signature, a snippet of his email bragging about using my credit. Blurred but obvious messages between him and Jenna, with hearts and last time and can't wait. The hotel invoice for room 1012 under James Carter, dated the night before the wedding, times clearly visible. A fuzzy still of lobby security footage, where you could clearly see Aaron and Jenna walking in together. The last slide was just black with white text, "I deserve better, and so does the truth." By the time I finished, the sun was coming up. I closed my laptop and felt not good, not happy, but steady, like I had a plan. My mom called around 8. She sounded tired and brittle. "Where were you last night?" she demanded. "Jenna has been calling me in pieces. Aaron says there's been a misunderstanding. What have you done?" "I caught them in a hotel room together," I said. "There is no misunderstanding." "Oh, Rachel," she groaned. "It's the week of your wedding. People are already flying in. You cannot blow everything up over one stupid mistake." "One stupid mistake?" I repeated. Maybe if it was a text, or a drunken kiss months ago that he confessed. This is my fiancé and my maid of honor booking a room the week before my wedding and lying to my face, on top of everything else. "On top of what else?" she asked sharply. The loan, I said. The one he took in my name. The one he told you about but told you to keep from me. She went quiet. He said you knew, she said weakly. He said you'd agreed but might be upset later, and you were already so stressed. I didn't want to pile on. I thought it was his way of helping. Helping who? I asked. Because it wasn't helping me. She started crying. I just wanted you to have a nice wedding, she said. A good husband, a stable life. I thought, everyone makes mistakes. Men do stupid things. You're so unforgiving sometimes, Rachel. I felt weirdly calm. I'm not marrying him, I said, but I am going to the church, and I'm going to tell the truth. Rachel, no, she snapped. You cannot do this publicly. Think about our family. Think about his parents. Think about the gossip. I am, I said. And for once, I'm thinking about myself more. I hung up before she could launch into another guilt trip. Then I called my dad. He listened quietly to everything. Do you need me to go over there and knock him out? He asked finally, half joking, half not. I just need you to believe me, I said. I do, he said. And I'll walk you down that aisle, whatever you decide to do at the end of it. The day of the wedding felt like watching myself in someone else's life. Hair, makeup, dress. Jenna was at my parents' house getting ready with the other bridesmaids, eyes swollen, quiet for once. She tried to come up to me in the bedroom while I was putting earrings on. Rach, please, she whispered. Can we talk? Not today, I said. Today, you can listen. My mum flitted around, her smile brittle. She fussed with my veil, smoothed invisible wrinkles, told me to just try to enjoy it, as if I was the one who'd ruined things. In the car to the church, my dad held my hand. You sure? He asked softly. No, I said honestly, but I know I can't pretend I don't know what I know. We arrived. The coordinator rushed around, checking her clipboard. The string quartet started playing. My stomach twisted as I heard the murmur of 200 people settling into wooden pews. I found the AV guy, handed him the USB. This plays right after the vows, I said. Don't start it until I nod at you. You got it, he said. It's going to be beautiful. Something like that, I said. Then I went to the little side room with my dad. We could hear the officiant greeting the guests, the rustle of people turning programs. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears, but my hands were surprisingly steady. The doors opened. People stood. The music swelled. I stepped forward with my dad. Every face turned. Phones came up. Smiles, whispered. She looks gorgeous. I felt like I was looking at them through glass. I saw Jade in the second row, her jaw set, eyes locked on me. I saw Lily, my sister, frowning, sensing something was off. I saw Jenna at the front, holding her bouquet like a lifeline, shaking. I saw Aaron, pale, his smile too thin. Halfway down the aisle, I let go of my dad's arm. Rach, he whispered. I've got it, I said. Wait for me. I walked the last stretch alone, each step feeling like it weighed 10 pounds. At the altar, Aaron reached for my hands. I let him take them, then gently pulled one away. You look incredible, he whispered. Watch how quickly that stops mattering, I murmured back. The officiant started his talk about love, trust, partnership. It felt almost cruel, hearing those words pointed at us. My mind was half on him, half on the AV booth at the back. We got to the vows. Aaron went first. He unfolded his paper with shaking hands and read words about honesty, protection, always putting me first. The hypocrisy made my skin crawl. When the pastor turned to me and asked if I was ready to share my vows, I took a breath. I didn't write traditional vows, I said into the mic, because I realized last night that I can't promise a future to someone who's been lying about our present. There was a ripple through the crowd. The pastor blinked. Aaron stiffened. Rachel, he hissed under his breath. What are you doing? I looked past him, straight at the guests. I know this is probably the last thing you expected to hear, I said. This is supposed to be a celebration of love. But if we're going to talk about love, we have to talk about truth too. And what you see up here isn't it. I lifted my chin at the AV guy. The lights dimmed slightly. The screen behind us flickered on. The soft piano music started. At first, people smiled. Baby photos, awkward pictures. Me and Aaron at the beach, at Christmas, on a road trip. Normal. Then the slide changed. It was our joint bank account, with a red box around the $6,000 withdrawal. This, I said, my voice calm but carrying, is the first time I realized my fiancé was comfortable using my money without my consent and lying about it. The next slide, the loan statement, $10,000, my name, my forged signature. And this is the second, I continued. A loan he took out in my name without telling me. He used my credit, my identity, and my trust to pay for a wedding he was also using to climb socially and financially. Gasps. Actual gasps. I saw Aaron's parents staring at the screen, horrified. The next slide, a blurred snippet of his email where he bragged about using her great credit score to a friend. Then the messages with Jenna. Hearts, flirty lines, enough. And when he wasn't doing that, I said, he was doing this with my maid of honor, my cousin, the girl I've loved like a sister my whole life. The penultimate slide, the hotel invoice, James Carter, room 1012, date the night before, time check in and out. He spent last night in this hotel room, I said. Not with his guys like he told me, with her. Then the still from the lobby camera, him, Jenna, his arm around her. The room was silent, except for someone's muffled sob. Jenna was crying openly now. My mom had a hand over her mouth. My dad looked like a storm. The final slide came up. I deserve better, and so does the truth. The music stopped. The lights came back fully. I turned to Aaron. His face was white, then red, then something in between. Do you want to say anything? I asked quietly. But the mic picked it up. He shifted, looked out at the crowd, then back at me. We can talk about this later, he muttered. This is not the place. This, I said, is exactly the place. Because this, I gestured between us, is where we were supposed to promise to be honest, to protect each other. Instead, you lied, you cheated, you used me. You used my name, my money, and my family. You're humiliating me, he snapped under his breath, forgetting the mic was still close. A dark laugh rippled through the room. You humiliated yourself, I said. I'm just done keeping your secrets. I slipped the ring off my finger, held it up. This used to mean a promise, I said. Now it's just a reminder of what I was willing to ignore to keep everyone else happy. My parents, his parents, the guests, the vendors. I'm done ignoring it. I set the ring down on the altar, right by the bouquet Jenna had arranged for me, and turned back to the pastor. I will not be marrying this man today, I said. The poor man just nodded slightly, at a loss. I turned to the guests one last time. I know some of you will think I should have handled this privately, I said. But if I had left quietly, you'd spend months hearing how I got cold feet, how I was crazy, how I threw away a good man. Instead, you saw the truth for yourself. What you do with it is up to you. Then I stepped away from Aaron and started walking back down the aisle. No music, just the awkward sound of people shifting in their seats. Halfway down, my dad stepped into the aisle and offered me his arm. I took it. My mom reached out like she might grab me, but my dad shook his head once. Let her go, he said. Outside, the air felt different, colder, cleaner. Jade burst out behind me a minute later and practically tackled me in a hug. You absolute legend, she whispered into my hair. You did it. I feel sick, I said, and relieved, and sick again. That's fair, she said. In the days that followed, the drama rippled outward. Guests had filmed parts of it on their phones. Clips circulated in our social circles. I became, briefly, that girl who exposed her fiancé at the altar. Not exactly the way I'd imagined being talked about, but at least it was honest. Aaron tried to spin it, even after. He texted, emailed, called from different numbers when I blocked him. He said I'd overreacted, that what he'd done wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things, that I'd ruined both our lives over one night. I replied once with a copy of the loan documents and a screenshot of the hotel invoice and wrote, "It was never just one night." Then I blocked him everywhere. The lender finished their investigation and agreed to remove the loan from my name, chalking it up to fraud. I didn't ask what they did to him, but I know a fraud mark on your file doesn't help your future. His company found out too. They didn't hire me, but I know someone who works in HR there. Using a partner's identity for financial gain isn't something a tech sales company wants associated with them. He was let go. His big bonus never came. Jenna moved out of town within a couple of months to start fresh. She sent me a long email about how ashamed she was, how she'd gotten caught up in attention and drama, how she'd always compared herself to me and felt like the messy one, and somewhere along the way she'd started resenting me and wanting what I had. Reading it made me feel tired more than anything. I didn't reply, not because I want her to suffer forever, but because right now the only way I know how to heal is distance. My mom and I went through a rough patch. She swung between sobbing apologies and complaining about how embarrassed she was. One day, after she moaned that everyone is talking about us, I snapped. "You were more worried about the neighbors than about me," I said. "I needed you to say, you don't have to marry a man who cheats and lies. Instead, you told me to go through with it for the sake of the event. I won't forget that." She cried, said she'd grown up in a house where you never canceled weddings, where women just dealt with things silently. She said she was proud of me and ashamed of herself. It's not all fixed, but we're rebuilding on more honest ground. My dad quietly became my biggest supporter. He helped me close the joint account, cancel anything Aaron had access to, talk to vendors who tried to nudge me for payments already promised by Aaron. He also, in a moment I'll always remember, said, "I wish your mother had done what you did when I messed up early in our marriage. It might have scared me straight sooner." Life went on. It always does. I went back to work. People whispered for a bit, then moved on to new gossip. I moved into a new flat closer to work, small but sunny, paid for with my own money and no forged signatures. I got promoted a year later. I started going to therapy because untangling why I ignored my own gut for so long is not a project you do alone. Sometimes people ask if I regret what I did at the altar, not breaking it off. That, everyone agrees, was right. They mean the public part, the slideshow, the exposure. There have been nights when I've lain awake replaying the look on his mother's face, the sound of my own voice cracking slightly on the word fraud, the wave of attention afterwards. A small part of me wonders what my life would look like if I'd just quietly canceled, let people assume I was unstable Rachel. But then I remember sitting in that hotel garage, shaking so hard I could barely hold my keys. I remember the email with my forged signature. I remember my own mother telling me to suck it up for the sake of appearances. And I think silence would have protected everyone but me. Revenge, for me, wasn't about hurting Aaron physically or ruining every job he could ever get. It was about making sure his story and mine didn't get twisted into something it wasn't. It was about saying, in front of witnesses, this is what happened, this is who he chose to be, I am choosing something else. He cheated before our wedding, and I exposed him at the aisle. It wasn't graceful, it wasn't clean, it hurt like hell. It blew up a day I'd once dreamed about, but it also ripped me free from a life built on lies. It forced my family and me to look at uncomfortable truths about money, loyalty, what we call mistakes to avoid saying abuse, what we let men get away with if the pictures look good. I don't know exactly where my life is going yet. I know I won't rush back into a relationship just to prove I'm over it. I know that my credit is clean, that my accounts are mine, that I am capable of walking away even when my dress is paid for and the guests are seated. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. You are not obligated to go through with something just because it's planned, paid for, or expected. You are allowed to call off a wedding a week before, a day before, even an hour before, if the person at the end of the aisle has shown you who they really are. And if they've used you, lied to you, betrayed you, you don't have to burn your life down to get revenge. Sometimes all you have to do is step up to the microphone, tell the truth, and then walk away. That was my revenge, and I have never, not for a second, regretted it.